Warning, this product can expose you to chemicals including lead, known to the state of California to cause cancer and birth defects or other reproductive harm. For more information, go to www.p65warnings.ca.gov. Well, it's a good thing we're not in California, isn't it? I was doing a little bit of research before I chose this forge, and I was looking on YouTube, couldn't find anything on the Whisper Daddy 2 forge, so perhaps this video will be helpful to somebody who might be considering this forge or comparing it with others. Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. It's been a couple of weeks since I've done a video. Thank you for being here. So I've been kind of busy, so I'll give you a couple of quick updates for both of you who watch the channel regularly. And let's see, we have a little man in the house now. My wife gave birth to our son a couple weeks ago. And he was 10 pounds, 10 ounces, so of course my wife is amazing. She did awesome. They're both doing really well, so we're very blessed. I've been taking care of mama and baby and my other children and dogs and chickens and laundry and all that kind of stuff, so haven't been in the shop for a couple of weeks, but I'm happy to, I'm excited to get back in here soon and start working on some projects. In the meantime, we did a hammer pre-order, and thank you to everybody who ordered a hammer, pre-ordered a hammer. I think we're up to 11 or 12 hammers, which is the most we've done on a pre-order so far. So great success, and I really appreciate it. Excited to get working on those very soon here. And what else? I don't know. It's springtime here in Texas. The sun is shining and it's warming up. So I bought a new forge, and this is going to be an unboxing and first impression, and we'll fire it up, put it together, fire it up, stuff like that. So let's jump into it. So this forge arrived in 2 boxes. We have the forge itself here, and then of course the burner kit. So we're going to be pulling both of these apart and seeing what we have here. Unboxing video. Alright, so we have the handle, we've got some fittings, we've got the hose, comes with a regulator. That is that's a solid regulator right there. So a little bit of assembly here. One of the things I like best about it here is the burner design. They're cast steel, heavy duty, and you'll see they're pretty low profile compared to a lot of forges out there today. Let me just say real quick before I continue that I purchased this forge with my own hard-earned money. This is not a sponsorship of any kind, simply the best deal that I found for what I'm doing, and perhaps it will help you out as well. I purchased this from Centaur Forge, again not a sponsorship, just the best price that I could find. I've purchased things from them in the past, and they've always had fast shipping and pretty much the best prices on what I've needed to buy. Alright, there it is. We can take a look at it here. It has a door. Imagine that. Look at that. It even stays up when you lift it up here. So, this is built by NC Tool. This forge, this company have been around for a while. I've been aware of them for, I don't know, a couple of decades. And most of their forges are designed for farrier work. This one is more for real blacksmithing. I say real blacksmithing sort of tongue-in-cheek. I actually was aware of these forges a long time ago because I did farrier work for a couple of years, went to horseshoeing school, learned some fundamentals of blacksmithing as they taught us hot shoeing, how to build shoes, and some other simple tools. And anyway, this company's been around a while. These forges are built pretty dang nicely. So what we have here is we have a hard fire brick floor. They've got a lip here. Things are not going to fall out of your forge. And then we've got this, it's not the ceramic wool. It's like a step above it. It's sort of like a felt, like a heavy felt. So more durable than that. And this is, in my opinion, this is probably the best combination of insulations that you can get. So I have used forges with soft fire brick, the ceramic wool insulation covered with the ITC 100 refractory. I had a different forge that was built similarly to this, but for horseshoeing, so not the same amount of space. And in my opinion, having that hard fire brick floor with the with the felt, or it's like a fiber board almost, but it's ceramic. Provides you with the best combination of insulation, or the insulation ability, insulative factor, whatever the scientific term is, combined with durability, because both of those things are important in a forge. So one thing I'm going to do here, once I run over the Whisper Daddy 2, is we're going to compare it with the other forges that I currently have and use. So that might be helpful as well. So you can see the poor little Majestic 3-burner in the background here. Don't worry, we're going to talk about that. Look at this piece right here. I went with the ports on the ends. You can get a port on the front of the door at the bottom. I decided to go with this because that's the best for the kind of work that I'm going to do. This is heavy cast steel, or cast iron for that matter. I'm not really sure, but it's cast, heavy duty. And then the insulation on these walls is close to 2 inches thick, if not right at 2 inches. So just built real heavily, real heavy duty, real sturdy. Now, as far as I know, this is the biggest forge that this company makes, and it is the 3-burner variety. I went with that because what this is primarily going to be for is forging hammers and axes, and so I need that heat to get those heavier cross sections of steel up to temperature in a reasonable amount of time, and I need the room in there to do that because they're relatively big blocks of steel compared to things like knives. Now, somebody's probably going to ask the question, why didn't you just build one? Well, that's a great question, so I'll answer that real quick here. The reason I did not build this particular forge, no, I wouldn't say it's an upgrade, because I'm going to continue to use the other forges that I have for different projects, and I'll explain that here in a bit. The reason I didn't build this one is because I'm at a point in my business and in my, I guess you'd call it a career, whatever it is that I do, where my time is more valuable making product to sell and to provide people with that product than it is to build a forge, because I'm a blacksmith, not a forge builder. Can I build a forge? Yes, I've done it several times, but is it an efficient use of my time right now? I've decided it wasn't. I don't think it is, especially for something of this size and construction with the door, etc., etc. And the way it's built, you could do the same kind of thing with running welding beads and that kind of stuff. The way this is built, using a sheet metal brake, etc., different equipment that I don't have, it's a product that is worth spending money on. And speaking of money, I'll just tell you right off the bat what it costs me, so you know what kind of ballpark we're talking here. The best price I found, like I said, was on Centaur Forge, $949, $950 with shipping. So, like I say, best price that I found. And when it comes to a forge this size and this kind of quality construction, that's a pretty good deal. So anyway, let's get further down the road here and see what goes together on this. Okay, so just getting this whole burner assembly put together. You'll notice that this little bar or tube here, it's got the jets coming out here. Those need to be centered on these burners. And there's a little bit of play in here, and I went ahead and tightened these down already, which was a little premature because I need to kind of work that slop just a bit and tighten everything down together so that I end up with these jets as centered in the burners as possible. So you can already kind of see what I'm talking about with this being a lower profile with this burner design as compared to, and it's not a direct comparison of forges or anything, but for example, this 3-burner Majestic forge sits a good 4 or 5 inches higher, and that's with the Whisper Daddy being on feet. It's good, the bottom of the forge is a good, 1.5 inches, 2 inches off of your surface, 4 corners here, and that's a good thing because, for example, this Majestic here sits right down. And I could have put it up on something, I didn't, but it sits right down on the surface if you don't do anything. And in this case, with my 1/8 inch sheeting tabletop or cart top, it has warped it like nobody's business because of that heat sitting down right on there. So this is, in my opinion, a better design, but we've still got a pretty compact package, so it's not, ungainly like this would be if it used this kind of burner design. Oops, I forgot to install the little lighter thingy-majigger. We'll just pull that bolt out here. Okay, so I've got the quarter turn shutoff valve attached to the manifold. I think it's called a manifold, whatever. Shoots the gas in there. Got the hose connected to that with the provided TFE tape. No, PTFE tape. And only thing I have to do now is connect this to the regulator here. This is a compression fit here, so no Teflon required. And we'll just snug that up here a little bit. And we can connect it to our fuel source. All right, yeah, like I think I mentioned a minute ago, this regulator, notice right off the bat, it is feels a lot heavier and beefier than any of the other regulators I have. Well, it's rated up to 250 psi apparently, according to this right here, which is way, 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 way higher than you'll ever use. But it's probably going to last you for a long, long time. So that's a plus. That's definitely a plus. Alright, so I've got the quarter turn shutoff valve open right now, and I'm going to go ahead and leave it open just so we can kind of get a ballpark of where our regulator is at here for just a second. Okay, so nothing. Oops. We're just going to start out like low. There we are. So what is that, 2? Okay, turn that off. All right, let's go see if this thing lights up. Okay, Whisper Daddy 2, first light up here. Says you need to open the door, which makes sense because you don't want a little explosion. So I'm going to go ahead and fire the gas and push this little red button here. All right. Wow. I gotta be honest, the heat coming off of that already is pretty impressive. Well, I don't know if you can tell on camera or not, but one of the first things I notice is how quiet it is, hence the name of the forge line, Whisper, etc. And it's very quiet. You kind of expect, when is it going to, like, you know, ramp up and roar like the Majestic or some other similar type forge. But it's not going to. It's quiet. That's kind of nice, actually. We're going to have to adjust this a little bit and make sure that our burners are all operating properly. So as it heats up, it's going to create the atmospheric effect that's necessary for these Venturi type burners to run. And so I'm not going to mess with it until it's up to temp, and you know, we'll see how it operates when it's up to temp in the firebox there. It's been running for about a minute now, and those the flames are looking pretty good. I think I need to move my manifold this way just a hair or something like that. I don't know. But you can see what's going on there. I've got one hammer billet in there. I can easily put 3 more with plenty of room to maneuver them and get to each one without having to go behind and try to get it. That is going to make forging hammers and axes much easier. I've got this running at 5 psi, and you know, once it heats up fully, which it still hasn't yet, it's only been running for maybe 3, 4, maybe 5 minutes, maybe. But once it gets up to temp, you know, that's going to be plenty of heat, I think. So I cranked it up to 10 psi, and you can see the flame shooting out the end ports here, kind of coming out to about up there, about there. It's kind of hard to see in the light, but this side's similar. So cooking a little hotter here. We'll check our billet here and see where we're at. Puts out a little bit of heat. So that's already red hot. you know, dull red. All right, guys, well, that's a quick rundown on the Whisper Daddy 2 forge and what it can do a little bit. My first impression after running it for a few minutes, setting it up and so forth, is I like it. I think it's going to be a great addition. I think it's a good purchase for what I needed. And that was specifically a forge that is set up to forge multiple hammers or axes or hatchets, that kind of thing. So I realize that this forge is not going to be for everybody, so I also want to do in this video real quick is a quick rundown of the forges, all the forges that I currently have and use, and what's good about them specifically and what they do better than the other ones do. So first up is the forge that I have been using the longest out of the forges that I currently have and operate. And this is one that I built. As you can see, it's not super pretty, but what I want it to do, it works really well. So it's got 1/8 inch steel sheeting housing the whole thing, and theoretically it can be taken apart and the liner replaced. The front and the back slide up out of these tabs here, and theoretically you'd be able to get the fire brick out. You might not be able to get it back in. Haven't had to test that yet, because out of over 1.5 years or thereabouts of running this forge, it's still going just fine. The insulation is soft fire brick all the way around. Might be a little better to have hard fire brick on the floor. That's kind of deteriorating a little bit more, partly due to the fact that I've forge welded in this, used the flux, which is really hard on forge linings, and it's I believe it's a 2 3/4 inch fire brick, and it's just all the way around. So it doesn't have doors. I've used fire bricks propped up as the doors, and that works to retain the heat when necessary to forge weld and that kind of thing. The burner on this one is a Frosty T burner, as it's known, that I built, and I've added these little air intake adjustments. That's not a part of the original design, but I added those for fine-tuning the flame, and that works. It works really well. It's you've seen it if you've watched the channel at all. You've seen this forge many times in use, and like I say, if I forge weld in it when I need to. It's a perfect size for 1 or 2, couple knives. You can even do like a hammer or an axe in there, no problem. It just fits maybe 1 at a time, and your heat up's going to take a little bit longer. But one of the greatest things about this forge is that it is very efficient on the fuel, and yeah, it's a great forge. I'll continue to use it for projects that, you know, smaller one-off or smaller pieces. Great forge. And something similar to that, this is probably a good example of a great beginner forge. So the next forge that I've been using for about a year, I guess, I don't know exactly, maybe a little over a year, is this Majestic 3-burner forge. And yes, these are the forges that they use on Forged in Fire. This one I've been running as a 2-burner forge most of this time, with the orifice on the end here plugged with this bit of ceramic wool insulation. Of course, you have to do this so it doesn't give you a chimney effect. And the reason for that is I didn't really need a 3-burner forge most of the time, this direction anyway. I bought the 3-burner because I needed a longer forge for like a sword type project, and then a lot of the time I don't need that much, so I walled it off with a different fire brick and just ran 2 burners, and that's worked pretty good. That's worked great for most of the projects that I do. You can see that I've got a lot of flux in there, kind of eating away the floor, and also some of the insulation on the side there, and that's part of the reason that you know, a heavier fire brick can be useful or helpful. But you'll notice that the thickness of the insulation on this wall here is about 1 inch, much different than the Whisper Daddy here. Now, this is not a 1-to-1 ratio comparison or anything like that. This is a $500 forge when I bought it. This is a $1,000 forge, so we're not really comparing apples to apples here. What the Majestic forge does is provide a long firebox for me to work on longer projects, and I've worked on lots of other things too. This, you know, to date, all my hammers and axes have been, except for a couple, have been in this forge. And you know, it gets them up to heat just fine, everything like that, no problems there. But it's really hard to work with more than 2 pieces when you have to go behind the front pieces and try to get your stuff. It's just not a good scenario if you can avoid it. So I would not recommend this if you're trying to do you know, like that kind of blacksmithing, whereas this one is going to be much better for that. Additionally, this also has the ports, so if you do need to run longer stock through there, it has that functionality. So it's going to be more versatile overall than perhaps this one. I'm going to continue to use both of them for the different projects that I'm doing. When I got this forge, somebody on the YouTube channel mentioned that it was going to that they break down quickly, and you'll notice that there's some issues here. It does get plenty hot. I think it gets a little too hot for its own good with the type or amount of insulation that they have here. It really needs relined at this end for sure at this point. But like I say, this is a $500 forge, this is a $1,000 forge, and for what I needed that for specifically, it works and it will continue to do so. Of course, we've all heard the old axiom that you get what you pay for, and I think generally that's true, obviously. But you know, sometimes there's limitations. When I bought the Majestic, I didn't have $1,000 to spend on a forge, and you know, I did this time, so things are progressing. That's great. So at this point I have 3 different forges, and that's going to allow me to use the best forge for the job, if you will. And so I'm not going to fire up the 3-burner or the modified to a 2-burner or whatever. If I just need to do one quick little knife project or something like that, I can use my 1-burner, save on fuel, you know, this kind of thing. So that's one aspect when it comes to running a shop, running a business, that having some of that diversification. One last thing I did want to point out that this will allow me to do now that I have this forge is I'm not going to run flux in this forge. I mean, you know, unless it's like a life or death situation or something like that. You saw what the flux is doing to the floor on the Majestic and my other forge as well. And it's just bad news. Doesn't matter what kind of insulation you have, it's going to destroy it much quicker. You know, that was one of the nuisances running the Majestic, trying to do hammers and axes and stuff in there with that crud on the bottom. It sticks on it. It's just not fun. So I'm really excited about having a flux-free forge. So I won't be doing forge welding in that per se unless it's a fully enclosed, atmosphere-free type billet. But other than that, we're going to keep that one nice and just clean so we can get these hammers and axes and stuff forged without trying to scrape that crud off of there, because that's a pain in the neck. So that's one little thing there that another having multiple forges allows me to do that. Really, those little things add up when you're trying to make product and make high quality stuff for people in a timely fashion. Anyway, hey, I appreciate you guys watching as always, and hopefully this video was helpful to you. We will see you on the next video.